So the Ministry of Media sent me to your doorstep to tell you that you thought you ate that.
You thought you ate that?
And we're so sorry to tell you that that might not be the case when it comes to your website. There are a lot of cute things that are happening on your website, but they don't do you any justice when it comes to really explaining your worth, your quote unquote value as a business owner. And I want to kind of walk you through why some of these decisions may not be the best. Everyone's different, so take this with a grain of salt, but let's get into it. Hey good people, it's Sydney Hart, brand strategist, designer, and copywriter. Also, of course, the founder of With Hart Creative Studio. We offer full service rebrands to content creators and media personalities so they can reintroduce themselves with styles and land dream partnerships without saying a word. So good to have you back. Thanks for coming. So by the time this video wraps up, you'll have a good understanding of what some of these decorative things, I like to call them, on websites can and cannot do for your business, as well as some alternatives to explain the same thing but not confuse your user. Because at the end of the day, a website is simply a tool. It's not just a place for you to display what you can do or how well you can design, but ultimately it's to generate leads and get those folks to reach out to you in the way that best fits you and your business. So let's hop right into it. The first thing that I want you to know when it comes to expectations versus reality is having decorative menu items, as I like to call them. Menu titles like journal instead of blog or meet the owner instead of about us are really cute, and they can help in terms of your website until it comes to things like SEO ranking and being accessible to folks who may not be able to see or hear when it comes to reading things out loud or seeing things on a page, right? So I always err on the side of caution. So I always suggest that your menu items be clear cut, to the point, and most of all, search engine and Google friendly. If you have a homepage, it doesn't need to say start here. Usually when people see home, they understand that it'll take you to the starting point of the actual website. If you have a page that's about us and you want it to say meet the owner, meet the team, those could be headings on the about page. The page could simply be titled about. The headings within them could be meet the owner, meet the team, here are our values, etc. Right? Let's say you have a services page. I always say that it could simply say services, it could say work with me, but don't go to the side of let's work. Don't go to the side of see what we can do, because ultimately that's not going to help when it comes to SEO. And like I said before, it's not super clear what it is we're getting ourselves into, right? See what we can do could simply mean look at our portfolio, right? It could mean these are the case studies that we have from past clients. So you want to be as clear and clear cut as to the point as you can. So the next thing I want to cover when it comes to how you think folks are navigating your website to what's really happening is selfies, right? No shame in your game if you've had selfies on your website before. I think they can serve a purpose in certain places, but if your entire website is you holding up your phone and posing, it's not the most professional, and there are places that you can pop that info in, right? Like we mentioned before, on that about page, if you're talking about your travels, your family, what you do in your spare time, maybe even some of the events that you've spoken at, and you want to really counteract that with something that's a little more personal, I would say go for it. Put a selfie in there. But when it comes to professional photography, when it comes to headshots, if you're using your phone already, set a timer, get in front of a window, get some natural light, and flick it up, okay? Do what you do, but I don't err on the side of selfies all over your website, because ultimately it makes folks think, okay, what effort was put into this site. If there's no effort put into how I present myself into the world, then what's to say that there's going to be effort into the project that they're going to complete for me and my brand, right? So the last thing I want to cover when it comes to expectations versus reality for your website is having too many call to actions, what I like to call 50 CTAs on your website. The entire point of a website, like I said, using it as a tool to get the user to do what you want them to do, right? So if they land on the home page, my thought would be for you to get them to want to go to the about page, the services page, something to show that you know what you're talking about, right? So it makes no sense to link past brand partnerships at the top and then at the bottom say, here's my Instagram right in the middle of the page, right? And then you tell them, here's my media kit. Like, I understand that you want them to take a certain action, but there has to be a journey when it comes to folks scrolling down your website. You also have to think about, what is this user going to experience, feel, and think when they're scrolling from the top all the way to the bottom. We can't necessarily assume that everyone's going to click that link to go to your Instagram or go to another page, and we don't necessarily want them to get confused if they're in the middle of it, right? So you want to make sure that you incorporate, I would say, no more than 2 or 3 call to actions on each page. Like I said, you don't want to confuse your user, and you also have to be really clear on what the goal is for each page. If the goal for the homepage is for folks to look at your portfolio, look at your case study so you can build authority when it comes to what it is that you do, then let's focus on that, right? Once they get there, then maybe they can learn about the company, or maybe they can go straight into booking. But you want to sit down, write out those goals for each page, and then align your call to actions to fit that. So these are just a few ways that I think when you implement them on your website, it doesn't always go as planned, right? One thing that I highly suggest is research, right? I would even reach out to some past clients, some past partners, and ask them, hey, can you navigate this quick preview link on my website and tell me what you think? If you need to reach out to a designer, or if you want to pay for a website audit, I would always suggest that before you launch, you tap someone on the shoulder and say, hey, I would love your opinion on this. I would always want to grab 3 people. One person that is within your audience niche, someone that can tell you all about what they would experience, right? Maybe even someone who's a competitor, someone who is a collaborator in a sense. You can kind of group those together because generally we are collaboration over competition, right? And then lastly, I would think of someone who is a referral, maybe a past client, or someone who is new, who has never, came across your site before, so they can give your opinion. So I hope this helps. I know it was a pretty long one, but I don't mind at all, because I think that the more you know about your business, your website, especially when it's not your realm, the better you do. So, of course, if you have any questions about what we chatted about today, definitely let me know. I'd love for you to comment below and tell me, have you made these mistakes before? And if so, what did you do to counteract them or quote unquote fix them? Talk back to me, and thanks so much for entering the home of Big Brand Energy. I'm so happy to have you, and I'm so glad to have you back next time.